Major shakeup for Michigan's Democratic Senate primary. State Senator Mallory McMorrow has announced that she's dropping out of the race. This leaves Congresswoman Haley Stevens and progressive candidate Dr. Abdul El-Sayed as the two Democratic hopefuls fighting to replace outgoing Democratic Senator Gary Peters. It's expected to be quite the competitive August primary in a race that could play a key role in determining control of the Senate. And Congresswoman Haley Stevens joins us now. She serves on the House Committees for Education and Workforce, plus Science, Space, and Technology. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good morning to you. First, let's just get your reaction to the news. This was a tightly contested three-person race. The state senator McMorrow is certainly someone who had created a national profile for herself in the last year or so. Your reaction to her deciding that she's going to be suspending her campaign?
Well, State Senator McMorrow has actually been my state senator for almost a decade, and she has been a tireless fighter for Michigan. She led the charge to secure abortion rights in Michigan. She took on some of the very complex challenges of gun violence and led common sense gun safety legislation through our state capitol. And she also ran a really inspiring, dedicated campaign that traveled everywhere. And I was inspired by her, and her supporters have a home with my campaign. I'd be honored to have them join, and we've got to beat Mike Rogers, and I'm in the best position to go do that. Michigan is a swing state. If you want to lower costs, stand up for Michigan manufacturing and jobs, take on Trump's abuses of power, then I'm your gal. Let's go win.
So obviously, that's the general election. But let's start with, before we get there, let's talk a little bit about the primary here. Can you frame the contest now? What are the key differences between you and your remaining opponent, Dr. El-Sayed?
Well, look, in the House of Reps, I've been recognized as Michigan's most effective lawmaker. I take on tough challenges and I win. I'm so proud to have four-term U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow supporting me in this race. The mayors of Grand Rapids, Lansing, and Livonia, people who fight for Michigan and win for Michigan. And I'm ready to take on these tough, complex fights in the United States Senate. Donald Trump is completely out of touch with Michigan. Look, he started a trade war with Canada. Small business revenues are down 40%. Healthcare costs are only going up. And it's all because of the billionaire class that's trying to run our country right now. Not on my watch. I want to see us clean up Washington, ban stock trading for elected officials and candidates and the president and the vice president. Look, people are sick and tired of these abuses of power, and I get that. But the difference between me and my lasting primary opponent is I have a record. I actually have won and beaten Republicans, and I have delivered for Michigan at an enormous scale, and I'm going to do it again.
Congresswoman, one of the key contrasts of your candidacy with Dr. El-Sayed is your steadfast support for Israel. And he has called what Israel's conduct in the war in Gaza, he's called it genocide, and you have rejected that label. Do you see Israel's conduct of this war as within the law of proportionality of international humanitarian law?
Well, let me be very clear to everyone tuning in this morning that Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump have not brought us closer to the goal of long-term peace. You know, that is what I have always pushed for. There is a difference between me and Abdul. I believe in a two-state solution. I want to see the people of Palestine and in Gaza live peacefully side by side the people of Israel. He cannot qualify Israel's right to exist. And look, Benjamin Netanyahu has made us less safe. He has frankly, put Jews in an uncomfortable position across this country and the world. And I'm going to stand up to him as a senator. And I'm going to also continue to stand by Jewish people, Palestinian people, and this goal of long-term peace. That's what we need to see achieved.
You know, one of the things that has come up as well is, of course, this national conversation. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, of course, supporting Dr. Sayed al-Sayed. And so the question I have is, what does that progressive wing, the Democratic Socialist wing of the Democratic Party, what is their support signaling to you? How do you respond to that larger momentum in which Dr. al-Sayed is being placed inside of this wave alongside a certain ideological wing of the Democratic Party?
Well, I can tell you who else is supporting Abdul's campaign, and that's Republicans. They're spending thousands of dollars right now to prop up his candidacy, to put out paid-for polls, and no one wants Abdul to win more than the Republicans. And that's because they think that they can beat him in November. What they've never done is beaten me. That's the reality here that's going on.
So, Congressman, before we let you go, just your thoughts here about if Democrats are able to take control this November, what would be some of the key agenda items with President Trump still in office?
Well, look, I want to lessen our dependence on China. I want to create jobs and I want to lower costs. And I've got the legislation and the track record to do that. We also have to wake up to the fact that we have ballooning consumer debt in this country, that folks are upside down. One of the gals in my community just the other day was telling me she's, underwater at the end of every month, that folks can't figure out how to pay all these bills and not go into debt. That's not right. And so, look, as the most effective lawmaker for Michigan, and you mentioned my work on the Science Committee, and I've been the most effective Democrat for science and tech issues, I'm putting Michiganders, our hard work, our work ethic at the forefront. Tax code fairness, no more tax cuts for billionaires. I'm putting you and your family first, the Michigan way. So join our campaign, get involved. I'm working my tail off, and we're going to win in November.
Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate in Michigan, Congresswoman Haley Stevens, thank you for joining us this morning. And Elise, let's get your quick thoughts here on the race now. I mean, certainly right there, that at the end, that was a very much local, populist pitch. You could hear that playing well in Michigan, but it is a complicated race. It's becoming an expensive race. It's one that has national implications. Well,
I think Congresswoman Stevens does have a problem in that the electability argument is supposedly her strength, and she's been embraced by the establishment. And outside money, she is way outspending every other candidate in the race. It was partially why Senator McMurrow dropped out, according to unnamed advisors. But she's still lagging in the polls. And so is she really going to be able to take that small sliver of McMurrow support? Or is it going to actually go to el-Sayed, who has momentum right now? That's what I'm really watching.
And right now what we're seeing in state after state across Democratic politics, establishment figures are losing. It's the progressive candidates who have far more of the energy.